Hey, it's your tutor Courtney Waterman, lover of anime, manga, and math. And this is another session of Tutor Me Senpai. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Courtney, and this is another session of Tutor Me Senpai. Today we are back with a 5th grade topic, multiplying fractions. Now, multiplying fractions is very similar to adding fractions, but different enough that it's easy to get confused when going back and forth between the two. So today we're going to go into multiplying fractions and show the differences between multiplying fractions and adding fractions. Before we jump into our question for today, I want to remind you that you can always put your own questions in the comment box below. Or if you have questions about your own homework that you would like to see on this channel, feel free to visit me on Facebook at Tutor Me Senpai. If you find this video helpful, please leave a like. It really helps the channel. Also, hit the subscribe button and a notification bell so you know exactly when I drop my next videos. Without further ado, let's jump into our question for today. So our question for today has two fractions. 2 over 15 times 12 over 20. Now, if you're familiar with adding fractions, you notice that they have unlike bases. If you aren't familiar with adding fractions, then I recommend going to my other video on adding fractions, or in this case, adding unlike fractions, and you'll see how you can add fractions. But today we're more focused on multiplying fractions. So unlike adding fractions, the denominators are not required to be the same. So adding these two fractions would cause another step to be necessary. Whereas if this was multiplying, there is no extra step. You can go directly into multiplying. You don't have to get like bases like you would for addition. So that's one difference between addition and multiplication when dealing with fractions. Another difference between adding fractions and multiplying fractions is the process. When you're adding two fractions, all you do is add across the top while you're keeping the bottom the same. That's why we need the denominator to be the same, because we're just adding the top and leaving the denominator as it is. So this would be 8. However, multiplying fractions is a little bit different. Before we jump into the numbers, let's get a visual with some letters. So let's say we have A over B times C over D. Now, you might be tempted to find like denominators. Once again, don't do that. That's for addition. We're focused on multiplication now, so we don't need like denominators. What you will do here is similar to how we added across the top for addition, we're going to multiply across the top. So it's going to be A times C. So whatever A is and whatever C is, you're going to multiply them. But you're also going to do the same thing for the denominator. So it's going to be B times D. So once again, you don't need to get like denominators. You can just multiply across top and bottom. A times C over B times D. So that's the big difference between multiplying and adding fractions. When you add them, you don't add across the bottom. You just add across the top. When you multiply across the top and the bottom. And you end up with something like this. So looking at our fractions for today, if you were going to multiply these, you would simply multiply across the tops and the bottoms. So when you multiply across the tops, you're going to get 2 times 12. And when you multiply across the bottoms, you're going to get 15 times 20. Now you can combine these to be 24 over 300. But oftentimes you might be asked to simplify your answer. This is not in its most simplest form. To simplify this, we can simply factor out a 4 from the top and the bottom, since 4 is what they have in common. And you end up with 6 over 75. So when you multiply these two fractions, multiplying across the top and the bottom, you get 24 over 300. But if you want to take it a step further, if you're asked to, you can simplify this to be 6 over 75. Well, that concludes another session of Tutor Me Senpai. Today we went through a 5th grade topic, multiplying fractions. If you were confused about what you saw today, no worries. Multiplying fractions at the first glance is a little bit different from what you might be used to if you were used to adding fractions. But if you take your time and do each step one step at a time, I'm sure that you will eventually get it. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment box below. And if you have any questions about your own homework, feel free to visit me on Facebook at Tutor Me Senpai if you'd like to see it here. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like. It really helps the channel. Also, hit that notification bell and the subscribe button so you know exactly when I drop my next videos. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I really hope this helped your homework, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, and this has been another session of Tutor Me Senpai.